The sound of a phone ringing echoed in the dark, empty room. Rosemary stared at the device on the table, her heart pounding in her chest. She knew she shouldn't answer it, not after what had happened. But as the persistent ring grew louder, something inside her cracked. Her fingers, almost on autopilot, reached for the phone. The caller ID was blocked. Her breath hitched. A chill ran down her spine. It was too late to back out now. "Hello?" Her voice sounded thin, almost fragile in the heavy silence that surrounded her. A deep, low voice on the other end replied, "You should have listened to the warning, Rosemary." Her throat tightened, panic setting in. It was him, the voice she'd been hearing in her nightmares, the one that had haunted her for the past few days. She had tried to brush it off, convince herself it was all a twisted game, some sick joke. But now the realization hit her like a slap to the face. This was no joke. She swallowed hard, trying to steady her breathing. "What do you want?" A pause. Then the voice spoke again, this time colder, more deliberate. "I want you to understand something, Rosemary. You're not as safe as you think you are. There are things you don't know, things you need to fear." The words sent a wave of dread crashing over her. She had always been someone who preferred to stay under the radar. But now, she felt like the whole world was watching, waiting for her to slip up. I don't understand," she stammered. "You will. But it's too late to change anything now. The game has already started." Her heart skipped a beat. A game? What game? She wasn't sure whether she should be terrified or confused, but she didn't have much time to think. The voice came again, this time with a sinister edge. "You have 2 hours. After that, everything changes." The line went dead. 2 hours. Rosemary's mind raced as she glanced around the room. The apartment was silent, too silent. There was no sign of anything out of the ordinary, just the same dark, cold space she had come to know over the past few months. But something felt wrong, like a switch had been flipped, and everything was about to spiral out of control. She stood up, her legs shaky, and walked to the window. Outside, the city streets were bustling with life, unaware of the storm that was brewing. But Rosemary couldn't shake the feeling that danger was closing in, a shadow lurking just outside her view. She turned back to the table, where the phone still sat, mocking her with its silence. Her hand hovered over the phone, unsure if she should call for help, or if she was just diving deeper into something that she wouldn't be able to escape. She needed answers. She needed to know who was behind this, and more importantly, why. But before she could make a move, the phone rang again. She didn't hesitate this time. She grabbed it, almost ripping it from the table. "This is getting ridiculous," she said, her voice trembling. The same low voice from before responded, "You're wasting time. You should be preparing." "Preparing for what?" she demanded. A dark laugh echoed in her ear. "You'll see soon enough. But remember, Rosemary, I'm always watching." The line went dead again. Her mind reeled. What did he mean, always watching? Was this some kind of twisted game? Was there someone in her life she had wronged? Someone she hadn't realized had been watching her every move? Her pulse quickened. She needed to think, to figure out her next move. She couldn't let this person get the upper hand. She walked into the kitchen, her eyes scanning the room. It was just an ordinary apartment. The same dull walls, the same clinking of dishes as she moved. But as she opened the fridge, her eyes fell on a small, neatly folded piece of paper wedged between the bottles of water. She froze. It was a note. Her heart skipped. It was addressed to her in the same handwriting as the one that had left the cryptic messages on her phone. She ripped it open and unfolded the paper with shaking hands. A single line of text was scrawled across it. "The clock is ticking. Find the key before it's too late." Her stomach twisted into knots. What key? What was she supposed to be looking for? She crumpled the paper in her hand, pacing back and forth, trying to make sense of everything. There were no obvious signs, no clue where to start. But then something clicked, a memory, fleeting like a whisper in her mind. She'd seen the word key somewhere before. A few weeks ago, at work. She had been investigating a case, a missing person, a cold case. There had been talk of a key, something important, but it wasn't anything that had connected to her directly. At least, not until now. The room suddenly felt smaller. The walls were closing in. Find the key. Her eyes darted to the clock on the wall. 2 hours. She had less than 2 hours now to figure this out. Every second was slipping away, and with each passing moment, the pressure grew heavier. She needed to act fast. Rosemary grabbed her coat, her mind already racing through the possibilities. She could go to the police, but would they believe her? Would they think she was just another person caught up in a prank or a hoax? This was real. This was too dangerous to be dismissed. She had to trust her instincts. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, and she pulled it out, seeing an incoming message. It was from an unknown number. It read, "You're not the only one looking for the key. Stay out of my way, Rosemary." A chill ran down her spine. Someone else? This was more than just a twisted game. Whoever was after this key had to know what they were doing. The tension in the air was thick. She couldn't sit back any longer. Rosemary wasn't just going to wait to be a victim. She would find the key, no matter the cost. As she stepped outside into the darkening night, the streets of the city felt eerily quiet. The distant hum of traffic seemed muted, like everything was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The wind was cold against her skin, biting at her exposed face, but Rosemary barely felt it. Her mind was too consumed with the urgent need to uncover the truth. She headed toward her car, the sense of urgency mounting with every step. The clock was ticking. She couldn't afford to waste time. But as she slid into the driver's seat and started the engine, something caught her eye in the rearview mirror. A shadow, a figure. Someone was watching her. The hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. She slammed the car into gear, peeling out of the parking lot. Whoever was following her, she wasn't going to make it easy for them. She had to get to the key first. But what if she wasn't the one in control anymore? What if the game had already begun, and she was just another pawn in someone else's hands? Her eyes flicked to the rearview mirror again, but the shadow was gone. Was it just her mind playing tricks? Or was someone really out there? The chase had begun. Time was running out. The key, whatever it was, whoever was after it, they would stop at nothing to find it. Rosemary knew she was tangled in something far bigger than she could ever have imagined. But she wasn't backing down. Not now. The game wasn't over yet, and she intended to win.